Maria was a quiet, diligent janitor at one of the country's top luxury architecture firms, a place where the walls were made of glass, the air smelled of lavender, and everyone wore designer clothes except her. Every evening, long after the last executive had left and the cleaners came in, Maria would gently knock on the kitchen doors and ask the catering staff if she could take home any leftover food, always with the same humble tone and downcast eyes. She never took more than she needed, and she never let anyone see the desperation in her heart. But one evening, her boss, Mr. Raymond Bennett, the cold and highly respected CEO known for his no-nonsense attitude and love for perfection, happened to walk back into the office after forgetting his tablet. From a distance, he saw Maria kneeling beside the catering bin, collecting food scraps, carefully placing them in a plastic bag with the same care someone might use to wrap a gift. Something about the image tugged at him, but he said nothing. Over the next few days, he noticed more. Maria often worked extra hours with no complaint, sometimes skipped lunch, and had holes in her shoes, which she tried to hide with tape. That Friday, when Maria once again asked for leftover food, Mr. Bennett told his driver to cancel his evening schedule. Instead, he quietly followed her, curious, skeptical, maybe even annoyed that an employee of his would resort to begging in his million-dollar tower. What he saw next shattered him. Maria didn't go home. She took a long walk across the city, holding her plastic bag tight. It was cold, her coat thin. She finally entered a back alley behind an abandoned building, where 5 small children rushed out of the shadows with joy on their faces, calling her Mama Maria. They weren't her kids. They were orphans, street kids who had no one else. She knelt down and began dividing the food equally, giving them juice boxes, hugging them, wiping their noses. One of the boys asked her if she had eaten, and she smiled. Mama ate earlier, darling. She hadn't. Mr. Bennett stood frozen from afar, realizing the scraps she begged for weren't for herself. She was feeding others, night after night, out of her own poverty. He returned to his car shaken. That night he didn't sleep. The next morning, Maria walked into the office and found her locker open. Inside was a clean envelope. She opened it with trembling fingers and gasped, a letter offering her a full-time role as the head of community outreach, with 10 times her salary, health benefits, housing allowance, and a note in Bennett's own handwriting, "You have fed more souls with your heart than I have with my millions." I was blind. Not anymore. She cried silently. Weeks passed, and under Maria's lead, the firm launched a food program that served over 500 underprivileged kids weekly. Media outlets picked up the story, calling Mr. Bennett a visionary. But in every interview, he said the same thing: "I was just the man who followed a woman who knew what real wealth was." Maria never stopped visiting the alley. But now, she brought a van filled with warm meals, blankets, school supplies, and love. She taught the kids how to read, got them into school, and eventually opened a small shelter. All from the leftovers no one wanted, and the heart of a woman who saw treasure in the trash. Her life became a living example of how the lowest-ranked employee can hold the highest character. And Mr. Bennett?